in a few seconds, and we'll double up with that question. But while we wait, let's hear what Jesse Marsch, future U.S. men's national team coach, has to say about Brenden Aaronson ceiling. Anytime.
All right. I'm here.
You have
Sorry about that. Got a phone call.
What is up, brother?
Not much. I got a phone call, and then everything decided not to work. And
of course.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining. So the roster came out. We'll get into that here in a little bit, but give me your first quick take. Yay or nay? How you feeling about it?
It's a solid roster for a Gregg World Cup roster. You know, I'm not mad. I'm not like the majority of quote unquote national team fans, put fans in air quotes, who bitch and moan about every single little thing. I just take it for as it is, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. I'll give out my opinion a little later, but I'm excited to talk about this. I'm excited to break this down on a piece by piece basis, because I think it starts from the back going to the front. We're gonna wipe this ass from back to front with Gregg Berhalter's or front to back, depending on what you guys want to go with. But I was thinking front back to front. But we could go front to back. We'll talk about it more when Toke and DPG join here in a little bit. But so have you heard this? Jesse Marsch was talking about Brenden Aaronson's ceiling. I'm gonna put this on our Discord so you're able to see it and hear it as live. That way you don't have to watch the YouTube video, right?
All right. So yeah, because I think it's 30 seconds behind.
Yeah, so I just plugged it in. So on Discord, you have this ability. Make sure just like that it's muted, so like or that you can hear it, so that the other world can't hear it. I don't know if you have headphones on. If you you do or don't.
I don't. Give me 1 second.
Two shakes of the lamp. Still take your time. Konor knows soccer's big Columbus fan and big time U.S. men's national team fan too. Pretty darn knowledgeable. And has a big time upcoming show with another big time U.S. men's national team YouTuber. We'll let him talk about that. A little tease there. Chat. Excited for Konor there. He's a great little guest that he's got coming on up in the future. So, but this is Deadrop. Doc's game. Oh, look, I got a nice little pistol.
All right. Is my audio good?
Yes, your audio is clean. Beautiful. So you should be able to hop in. You should be able to double click on me on Discord and see the video.
It said watch stream, and I just clicked on it.
Cool. Now I'm gonna. So basically, we'll be able to. You'll be able to listen to this live while we're listening to it. You and me will be able to comment on Brenden Aaronson's ceiling, a couple other things, including Tyler Adams, U.S. and the players themselves and what to expect from them. Jesse Marsch, I like what he has to say. I like his tactics. How do you feel about Jesse before we get into it?
Personally, I like Jesse Marsch a lot. Really didn't know much about him until he got the Leeds job late last season.
Oh, you didn't know about him back in Red Bull days?
No, I wasn't. I wasn't in that.
And the other question is like, which Red Bull days, James? He had two teams named Red Bull. That's the thing, right? Red Bull Salzburg and New York Red Bulls.
I didn't. I'm gonna be completely honest with y'all. I didn't start watching soccer until 2020.
Weren't you always a player?
I played a little bit in middle school, and then I played 4 years in high school.
Mm-hmm.
But as for watching it, I really can't. Until now.
Right. And now you're into it.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm going to break into Brenden Aaronson and ceiling. Here we go. You should be able to see this as well.
These reams of data, I'm sure, from all your stops. And it was important at Red Bulls. It was important in Salzburg. It's remained important. And a lot of it, I assume, is on physical capacity as well, to press and run and do the things that you're asking. has anyone surpassed what Brendan Aronson is and can do within that sort of parameter? Like just from a physical capability to run and press. I mean, is he number one on that list, or have other people surpassed that?
I mean, I've had a few guys that are at a high level for that, but he's certainly one of them, and Tyler is too. I mean, it's the reason why we went after both of those guys, right? It was because I believed in their talent and I knew them, but I also knew in their ability to play the way that I wanted to play and that we want to play.
So the first thing he says is that these guys are physical beasts, and on top of that physicality, there's a mentality to that physicality. Like there's like they just got a gear into them. They're missing a gear. Like that first gear, they just go to second gear, and they're just staying in that upper gear most of the game. I like hearing that about Brendan Aronson and Tyler Adams, and I think that these guys probably got to be starting here at the World Cup.
That's a no-brainer for me. They got to start. People look at the U.S. men's national team. They look at the midfield. I think our midfield is our strength. And there's an old saying in soccer where you win and lose games in your midfield, because that's where 90% of the game is happening.
Sometimes that's where you hide your worst players too, though, is the midfield.
That to me, I'm trying to phrase this. To me, the midfield is going to be our biggest strength come World Cup time. Because when I look at the Wales midfield, it's Iran, don't know too much about them. England, their midfield's good. More of English strengths is their and then I don't know much about Iran to tell you what I think about them.
No, I don't know much about Iran either. I know at least about Wales. When I looked at their announced roster, I'm like, well, I'm familiar through quite a few of these guys through Football Manager. I mean, there's a couple League 2, League 3, just like over the years, you become familiar with some of those names from the Welsh team, because one of my favorite teams to play was Wrexham, which is a Welsh team that plays in the English system. And I would like to bring in Welsh players. So I saw quite a few good names in there that I was bringing in. So that'll be fun to see.
Couple of players that I've noticed so for somebody like me, I try to watch the Premier League on week in, week out schedule. I watch Bournemouth every so often. One name that really stands out to me for Bournemouth and Wales in general is Keither Moore. That plays striker for both Bournemouth.
What's his name again?
Moore. I think
Keithlin Moore.
I think it's Keither.
Keither Moore.
I think. Hold on, let me.
You're gonna do that. Appreciate you fact checking there. I'm excited to break into more of this, like the top of the roster. There's juicy stuff to talk about at every point in this roster about something that maybe he left home, maybe he didn't. But we'll get into that a little later here. Connor's looking up this character's name from the English national team he's supposed to be.
I pulled up the Welsh roster, and it's Keither Moore.
Welsh national team. I'm sorry.
Keither.
Yeah, Keither Moore.
Yeah.
Correct.
Keither Moore, big dude, 6 foot. I want to say 200 pounds of pure muscle, but that's just random guess. But this dude, he is a mountain of a man. And he's no pushover. Other guys that I want to highlight here highlight Aaron Ramsey, midfielder. He's an aging midfielder, used to play for Rangers, but he signed with French side Nice as a free agent. One of the best midfielders I've seen. Brennan Johnson plays on the plays for Nottingham Forest. He's fast.
Nottingham, have they been falling apart?
Brennan Johnson plays for Nottingham Forest. I believe he plays right wing. He's fast. He's quick.
Mm-hmm.
He's a good crosser, but he can score when needed. Gareth Bale, the MLS Cup super sub.
What do you expect out of Gareth Bale? Especially seeing how little he played for LAFC. He didn't start a game.
It just depends. I think he'll start and play 90 minutes for Wales every game.
Don't you think that the deal was like, hey, the deal is you're preserving me for the World Cup, which means I'm playing 20, 30 minutes the game. I'll close out these games for you, basically. Oh shit.
I don't know. It just depends on which Gareth Bale decides to show up the 21st against the United States. Will we have informed Gareth Bale, who puts on a Welsh, who puts on that Welsh shirt and says, all right, I'm going to go 130 miles an hour, or are we going to get the LAFC Bale where it looks like he could just care less? But the highlights that I've seen
Gotcha.
in qualifying and even in a little scouting report for each Group B team for the preview tomorrow afternoon, and from what I've seen against in Nations League, well, yeah, I don't know. What I'm trying to say is it just depends on which Gareth Bale.
Wikipedia says that guy's 6'5", by the way. Can you run the show for 2 minutes?
6'5"? Okay, I'll just continue talking about Wales. Yeah, I got you. Right, so their goalkeeper, earlier with him.
I'm back.
But
Go on.
I was about to turn to the chat because okay. Yeah, that's pretty much all I know about the Welsh team.
Mm-hmm. Well, they're a good team. They have players that play in Europe against the best in the world, as DPG likes to say. I mean, these guys are going against a lot. Joe Allen. Some of these guys are just seasoned vets. I mean, Gareth Bale, Joe Allen amongst them.
Yeah. I apologize to you and the chat for rambling, but that's all I know about the Welsh. I'm not too
no
familiar.
worries. Well, we'll get back into Brendan Erickson here. We'll get back into Jesse Marsch and Brendan Erickson. We got lost in a little diatribe there. It's fun though. I love it.
Yeah,
all right.
That's my fault.
Dude, don't even blame yourself. It's fun that's the way conversation goes, dude. We meander and we're trying to find the answers here. Mm-hmm. All right, back to Jesse Marsch on Brendan Ericsson's last bit on his Brendan Erickson ceiling.
So they are gifted that way, but they are also relentless in the commitment to get better and to develop as people and as players. And
where does this come from? This capacity?
It's an Americanism. I'm sure of it, right? And they're
that's interesting that he thinks it's an American thing.
In some ways, for both of them, like when they landed, they played for me, right? For Tyler, I was the assistant, and Brendan, I was the head coach, but. They kind of Philly played a version of what we were doing in Salzburg. Obviously, New York did with Leipzig. And so it was a little from a stylistic and from a philosophical standpoint, it was a little bit easy for them to adapt based on some of the terminology and the ideas that were behind the tactics. But those two, but it's not just being American. Those two are very unique as well. They're very unique personalities in that they are relentless in their self-belief. They are fearless. Brendan's been a Liverpool fan all of his life, and this was a big moment for him to go to Anfield, and it was a big moment for us. You wouldn't have known that for a second because his self-belief and his ability to put it to practice, no matter what the situation, is very special. And the best part is that for me, Tyler has been the best that I've seen him ever in his career, and I've known him for a long time. So,
right. Yeah,
it's been great to see those two, and they're certainly, I think, playing at the highest level of their careers right now.
So
and they're
Brendan,
also in the Premier League.
I think about him in terms of at each stop in his career, you sort of mentally established, like, oh, can he get to this level, or is this a ceiling for him? And to me, Brendan's career, and it's still so young, is just a series of shattering ceilings and being like, what you thought I might be capable of is actually just a scratch on the surface of my career. What is in your mind? Is there a ceiling in your mind for Brendan? Is there something, what are you working on with him right now to help him, whether it's break that next one or get to that next one or whatever it is, what is going on internally to help him improve?
Well, I think one of the things was, he went through a little stage of having a little self-doubt, right? And then I kind of had a conversation with him about reinforcing exactly who he is and what he is. And part of that conversation, I was saying to him, you're 21 playing in the Premier League, and you're one of the most important players on your team. What an incredible...
Bring it back to basics, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what an incredible accomplishment already. But, just to continue to know that he's doing well and he's going to be rewarded for his personality and for the way that he goes about his work every day. And then with him, it's so much just about his ability to make final plays and slow himself down a little bit in the last third. And he has more quality than people think. He's a good finisher. He's really clever with how to put passes together in tight spaces. And so even the conversation I had with him, I think, was before the Palace match. And then he put that play together where he weaved through the box and hit the post that led to our first goal. So he will. I know this about him. He gets better every day. It's like he's like a weed. It's like you almost see him growing before your eyes. It's really amazing. He's a special young man.
It's like, looking back on it, I guess it is surprising and not surprising in some ways. Some of the outside chatter about Tyler going to the Premier League and say, oh, can he handle that level? Like the last season at Leipzig wasn't his best, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah,
it seems silly now in a lot of ways, given.
You're good. So one thing that I've noticed about Brendan Aronson playing in the Premier League, coming to a much larger, much more physical, much more asking than the Austrian Bundesliga is, he came into a team that people had being relegated this year. And it took him a couple games, but I was surprised on how quickly Aronson and both Adams to the Premier League style. It's amazing. And when I look
impressive.
I try to watch Leeds as much as I can. And Fulham too, because of Tim Ream and Jeddah, but I'll get to them later on. The chemistry that Aronson and Adams have, it's unbelievable. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's unbelievable. It's like they put in 99% of the work. Now, if Leeds go out in January and they buy a striker and they buy defenders, pushing for an upper mid-table spot come the end of the season. And then, like Jesse Marsch said, Philadelphia system, Red Bull system, very, very similar. So that's how Brendan was able to adapt from the Philly system and go right into the Red Bull system with Augsburg. And I think having Jesse Marsch, who was a Red Bull guy, who came from the Red Bull system, and I don't know if anybody else has noticed this, he uses a little bit of that Red Bull style in his coaching with Leeds. But two guys who have played in the Marsch system, who know what Marsch wants, and they're being very, very successful in that regard.
That's very true. That's very
anything
true. And that the fact that they dropped in day one was amazing. But they're familiar with Jesse. He gambled on Tyler because Tyler was not having so much success. Actually, he'll talk about that here. But that those guys are playing against the highest level of competition is huge. And that also McKennie is also playing at the highest level. Our midfield / our forwards are going to be good. It's our defense that is the biggest concern, it seems.
Oh, and
I'm-
I will take